Earlier this week, in the first major political event since the Correspondents' Dinner shooting, 8 candidates for California governor faced off at a debate hosted by CBS California. CBS News' executive director of White House and Politics, Fin Gómez, was at the debate and spoke to several of the candidates about whether they had any concerns about political violence in the wake of the attack.
We want people to feel like they can safely participate in civic life, and I'm glad this event was safe for everybody here.
I'm happy to be here. It was a great night. I'm very happy that we laid out a positive case there for change that goes way beyond party lines.
Those are the types of circumstances you always try to avoid, and we're always in the line of fire, and that makes it very difficult.
Fin joins us now. So, Fin, you were at the dinner. You were sitting at table 91. You were sitting with Major Garrett of CBS News, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., his wife, Cheryl Hines, and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and his wife, Katie Miller. I want to kind of get into your experience and how this all went down. So what were you seeing and hearing at the time?
Yeah, and also Jennifer Jacobs, of course, our incredible White House reporter. But yeah, we were there alongside the hallway, the main walk path, if you will, from the back of the doors to the front of the stage. And our table was right next to the stage where the president was sitting, along with our colleagues like the great Weijia Jiang. But what I did, has been reported. I heard a somewhat of a muffled pop or some sort of big noise that came from the back of the room, and then of course like the smashing of glasses. And then you saw, we've all been to a stadium in a sports arena, and you see like a wave of people, usually a very happy emotion, celebratory emotion. But you saw this sort of horrible wave, if you will, coming from the back of the room towards the front, where people started getting down, because you saw the Secret Service agents and the law enforcement agents coming out with their guns and with their they had their weapons out, of course. But also at our table, we had, of course, RFK Jr. and his wife, and just thinking of the terrible legacy that has happened in his family. I just immediately thought of that, but also, like, of course, concern for my colleagues and our guests at this table. And you did see the security folks, the Secret Service and the federal agents come and shield, respectively, the Millers, and then also, RFK Jr. and his wife, and they escorted him out different places across the stage. But then you saw something that will always stick with me. And yes, you had concern, and yes, there was confusion and chaos, but you saw this incredible group of reporters, of CBS reporters, just immediately trying to figure out what to do next. How do we cover this? Who has the White House press IDs, like Ed O'Keefe did, and he could run there. And Aaron Navarro went there on a bike, and people were catching rides and just running back to the bureau. And Olivia Rinaldi, one of the first reporters back, and you saw this incredible force of reporters doing what they do best, and that's like telling the story. And I was just so proud to be part of that group of people, our fellow colleagues, just doing what we do best.
Just an incredible pivot. I want to go ahead and play some video you took of Major Garrett once you found out about the shooting.
What just happened, Major?
So look, the sequence of events, very confusing. I was here, table 91, very close to the podium. Stephen Miller, his wife Katie, to my left. To my right, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., HHS Secretary, his wife Cheryl Hines. And once the president was securing out, then Secret Service began to move others, Katie and Stephen, RFK Jr. and his wife. And that's what happened.
We report so often on incidents like this and threats of violence, including against the president. What was it like being on the other side?
Oh, I've had I have in a previous life, I've covered January 6th and some conflict zones and cartels for 6 years at one point. But it's almost when you're not expecting it. When you go to those kind of conflict zones, you prepare for it. You take the hazardous training. You're aware of every single movement, if you will, because you're under that sort of understanding that you're in an area with some hazards, right? But when you feel that you're safe and you're sitting there, and there's all the security that surrounds it, and then something like this so unexpected happens, it's almost worse. Lindsay, it's almost worse because you didn't see that coming. But again, and then you do think of your colleagues, and we started texting around, checking in on each other, and again, like some of our associate producers like Annie Bryson and Emma Nicholson, who caught a ride, a friend of theirs, like picked them up from the hotel and then took them to the bureau, and they just immediately jumped in and started working. Like that sort of example, that shining example, like, not all heroes wear capes, in my opinion. And I think, of course, there are much bigger heroes like the frontline workers and the Secret Service agents, of course, but also to see our cohorts, our colleagues, just jumping in and leaping in and reporting on the story. In a lot of cases, first on the stories. That was just amazing, working into the night, into the next day. And that was truly awesome.
Well, yourself included, but very classy of you to tip your hat to others. Fin Gómez, thank you.